What up, guys? I'm Pope, and this is my bro JT, and welcome to Crooked Paths. I would say probably our best attempt at putting together anything that could ever resemble a podcast.
For sure. We want to thank you guys for being a part of this journey with us. We hope that this space can provide you with a little bit of encouragement, and if you're able to connect the dots between our scattered thoughts, perhaps even find a little bit of inspiration.
Yeah, for sure. We want to thank Kyle Brown and KEB Corporation for all their support in this and providing us the opportunity and the platform. They're on all social media outlets. Like, follow, subscribe, share, whatever you need to do. Keep you informed with KEB Corporation and everything they have going on.
That's right. We're going to talk a lot about our life, what we're learning about our lives, and how we're trying to operate as human beings moving forward. One thing that's for sure is it's never going to be a straight line.
No, sir. It's always crooked.
It's always crooked. Welcome.
What's up, man?
First episode of Crooked Paths.
Yes, sir.
How you feeling?
I feel pretty good. Pretty day outside. Happy to be here.
Yeah, man. Excited to...
Pretty fun with the lights on and recording and stuff.
That's
so.
right. You know,
Whatever.
Always a learning process.
Butterflies.
Butterflies, definitely. I definitely get nervous still every time. Before I get to speaking anything,
Sure.
whether it's just for something small or
It's just on the edge of being uncomfortable.
Yeah, which
being
is cool,
vulnerable.
which is cool. I'm cool with all of that.
Yeah, man.
You know, as we said in the intro, this is just, we want to be a space for encouragement,
Yeah.
maybe a space for inspiration. You and I, we have a lot of conversations together, and we find ourselves encouraging each other, encouraging ourselves along the way. And you know, this is just an opportunity for us to kind of share our story, share where we're at, what we're going through, what we're learning about life, what we're reflecting on about our lives. And I think that's big for me because I seem to be more in this reflective stage. Maybe that's turning 30 gives me wisdom. I don't know. But
Well, I mean, you've collected a lot, especially like I would say since 15 on, you really learned a lot about the world, or I think just people do. And that their growth can be accelerated. I mean, we have a friend who literally had to raise her younger sisters. And so she learned some real things about the world way earlier than we would have. Like, you know, might have been 16, 17, and she was like 12, 13. You know what I'm saying? So everybody's got a different path to it. But yeah, you know, turning
different
30,
experiences.
you got things, and it's funny because we call things wisdom.
Yeah.
But like nothing's ever wisdom unless you actually do it. You know, and so
wisdom is justified by our deeds.
yes, sir. I think it's a knowledge. It's like what we've acquired through observations, through experiences, biases we've seen in our lives that we have to break down. Like there's just a lot. I mean, life is crazy. And like, I mean, disclaimer alert, we see life on a deep level. Like it's the onion of life.
Yeah,
so like
it's probably exhausting to talk to us at some point.
sometimes, we just tend to preach. And I think over time, I've stopped apologizing for it, or I try to stop apologizing because I don't really care. Like I'm not trying to be like, if I feel like someone's not feeling what I'm talking about, I'll just stop talking and I'll just leave. But I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to apologize for taking it a step deeper because it's an opportunity to connect with somebody.
No, and I think part of the reason we even quote unquote preach is just because it's in our blood, man. We grew up, our granddad was a pastor, our dad's a pastor. So like we've seen it, we've been around that environment. And in fact, growing up in the church, we are so grateful for some of the things that we were able to experience, the people that we've been able to connect with, the things that we've learned, and how our parents and our family raised us. We're extremely grateful for the environment around us that allowed us to fail and to continue to learn and grow.
Right.
And I think ultimately now we're at the point in our lives where we realized that we want more out of our existence. So we have to start doing different to see different.
Right. Well, I mean, they think about like you put in the same input. I think it's like insanity. If you're putting in the same input and you're getting the same result, like what are you doing now of what you've learned in these 30 years? What are you implementing into your life to make it be different instead of just kind of keep running you into the same frustrations and pitfalls that, you know, we've had throughout our youth?
What would you say is your biggest like realization about your life?
Oh man, how fake I am.
Yeah, I feel that.
Oh my gosh, dude. Like, I've learned over the last few years, especially a lot about patience. Had the opportunity to like really go day to day and implement like a process of learning patience and stuff.
Yeah, I feel like patience has developed. Yeah.
I feel like that was something I like noticed that I wasn't so good at. Maybe I had like a good like base level of patience, but I mean, it's more than that now to me. Like it almost grew from like an impatient person to like a fake person. I realize like it's almost like some kind of lens was removed, or like the shade was lifted on my glass house, where it's like, you've been hiding there, you fake person, you know? And so that's what I've kind of noticed, like, especially over the last couple of years, is just like, man, I see it in the world around me, and I got frustrated with it in the world around me, only to divert my attention away from how fake I was, or I was playing the part of the fake that I was not liking around me.
Yeah, that's what I realized too, is that I'm a contributor. Any of the stuff that I don't like, the systems,
We're all
the evil that's out there.
that's the worst part.
I'm a contributor to these things that I don't like, and for me, I have to combat that hypocrisy. I think two of the biggest things I've learned in my life so far is that, number one, I have to take ownership of my life. I have to live my life. I have to write my story. But number two is that my value is no longer dictated from external forces. I think for so much of my life, I would derive my value based on a job that I had, or a relationship that I was in, or this thing that I was doing, or whatever. When those things were going well and I was doing those things to derive attention from people, to derive value from people. And ultimately, because life changes, those conditions changed. And when those conditions changed, I would devalue myself or lose my even source of value.
Right.
So then I would spin.
Because your foundation, when that storm came, was
I got
based
a piece
on
of hair hanging like in my hat.
That happens. I guess hats sit on top of hair.
Hats and long hair, yeah.
But yeah, I think you just kind of realize things about yourself that you want to change. And
knowing that I'm the only one that can
do
make those
that.
changes.
Right. And so, and one, it's an empowering thing to know how much you can influence your day. Like, even by starting with how you think about your day. Like,
Well, it's even, for me, it's freeing.
right. And that's what I
Like
was
letting
kinda
go.
getting to,
I got to let go of so much more.
Yeah.
Because, hey, man, I'm just trying to focus on this. I'm trying to stay present in this or whatever. And ultimately, I've got to be better about combating my hypocrisy. And in order to do that, that means I've got to sit with myself and have tough conversations.
Oh, yeah.
I've got to get out of my comfort zone, because when I'm comfortable, it makes me feel like I've got everything under control and everything's covered. And then I start to talk and I start to paint these pictures because I almost, my comfortability allows me to shift to those old habits of deriving value from other people.
So you know that you can say something that someone else is going to react in a positive way.
Yeah, and
be
then
like,
feel
oh, wow.
good. Yeah, I'm a good person, or
And
I'm
then
doing this.
feed
And it's like,
you.
dang, man, like I'm the problem. The problem that I see out there in the world, the things that I don't like about the world, I have come to the understanding that I am part of the problem. So if I want to see any external change in the world and society on a grander scheme, I've got to play my part. I've got to be different. I've got to do different. I've got to live in an authentic fashion.
Right. Well, and I think it gets tough, man, because you can live authentically, and sometimes your authentic version might not vibe with someone else. Like, it might there's always going to be someone who maybe gets rubbed the wrong way, it seems like. Like, someone's not always going to agree. But we have to also not sit there and be like, we can't move past a disagreement. Like, that's where we've gotten with people. It's like, hey, you think this way, you believe this way, I'm done with you.
Yeah, for me, it's almost like as long as I'm not, I don't know why I'm like putting my hand again in front of my face as I talk. But for me, it's like, if me doing my thing, living my life is not devaluing other people's existence, then like ultimately I've done my part. I can't help how things may be perceived or
assumptions
or assume on people, or like I can't, if something I do causes a negative reaction, could it be that there are so many other things going on for that person or whatever? Like, there's so many factors that go into it. So ultimately, if I can strive to be authentic,
right,
then like I'm doing my part, and I keep moving, and I keep moving forward.
You talked about not devaluing. I think it's showing the respect for other people, giving other people the space,
the space that you want. Treat others like you want to be treated.
Oh, it's so simple. And like as
just not
kids, you're
easy.
just like, oh, golden rule, give me the lollipop because I know it.
The
or something.
lollipop.
Well, it's like the candy. You know, you got rewards for knowing like different things.
Yeah,
You know,
I
it's the
got you.
positive
I know, it's
reinforcement.
just funny that you said lollipop.
Whatever, man. Either way, I'm just saying like these, and that's what's funny. Even just about cliches in general, like cliches are just they're so truths. They're just simple truths that you have
Right.
to understand about life.
Well, and ultimately,
Maybe not truths. Truths might be a wrong word because then you can get into like discussions about absolutes and everything like that. But I'm just saying like there are things like there's wisdom in those words if you want to apply it to your life.
yes, and like we said earlier, wisdom is your action. Your actions will define your legacy. Your actions will tell your story. And so what I've realized in my life, and I think what you've realized as well, is that if I want something in my life, I've got to do the things that I can to achieve that, put in the work, put in the time, put in the effort, whatever that thing looks like. I've got to do that and let the chips fall where they may. I've got to take ownership of my circumstances, the things that I can control, and then move forward in that. Because if I'm combating my hypocrisy, if I'm living authentically, then there are levels to grow. There are things that can change, not only in my life, but in the world around me. I just have to be willing to put in the work. I have to be willing to do.
So, yeah, I mean, well,
To do that.
Even you were talking about sitting with yourself, like recognizing like tough conversations with yourself. You gotta be real honest and look at yourself and see where you fail. Like where is it that there's a disconnect between your actions and your beliefs and your words. Like,
Well, and understanding that you don't have to be perfect. You're not
right.
perfect. You don't have to be. So, and
it's
for me,
impossible
I've
to
got
do.
to stop trying to be perfect.
right. Yeah, I mean,
Because in trying to be perfect, I'm saying things so that other people will maybe be like, oh, yeah, Jordan's doing this or Jordan will do that for me. And then I don't ultimately want to do those things or I don't follow through on that. So then I end up spiraling in kind of my own hypocrisy. My hypocrisy was my default because I wanted people to like me so bad because my value came from other people or circumstance.
well, I mean, listen, it's nice when people build you up and encourage you and
Absolutely.
think that you're something. I don't want to say better than you are, but just like, hey, think of you as someone who is authentic. Like when people think of you in a positive light, it does encourage you and make you feel good. But I think for me, like there are so many people in my life who feel like, because like some of the work that we've done, like in the past, people are like, wow, this like Win is a good person. And yet even in this, like not everybody, people thinking that way, I had an experience recently where I treated someone so bad, man. Like lack of respect, hurt their feelings. You know what I mean? Constantly apologizing, but never changing the action. And so like, even in all this, like, wow, I remember saying like, I don't understand why people even think I'm as good as I am. Right. Because I am very upfront with, or I got a front row seat to my failures and my hypocrisy and I know how to treat people and yet I'm still messing up with how to treat people. I'm allowing emotions to take over.
It's almost as if hypocrisy allows your apology to be the thing that you think makes it better.
It's like the scapegoat. It's like,
the
hey, I'm
scapegoat.
sorry,
Hey,
and
I'm
you stay
sorry.
away.
I'm sorry
Or-
and I'm shameful.
Right.
I'm ashamed. I'm not going to go back in. I'm not going to dive back in. And because I think ultimately if we're going to be better, if we're going to choose to be authentic human beings, then that means when we aren't perfect, because we're not perfect, we have to ask for forgiveness and then be better. Be the forgiveness we're seeking.
And you were talking
from
about
that.
being your biggest, you were saying my only enemy is me, kind of like I get in my own way, like I've got to take control of me and with ownership. You've also got to forgive yourself.
Yep.
Like it's
Gotta give
giving
yourself
yourself
grace.
grace, but you've got to forgive yourself, but like in the same type of way that you're asking for forgiveness for someone else, for someone else. Yeah. It's like moving too fast. Sometimes my brain, it's like, say these words, my mouth's like, man. But yeah, I mean, you just, when you apologize and ask for forgiveness from yourself, do what you need to do to be different next time instead of just feeling the guilt and then just beating yourself up and being in that, just
Self-defeating cycle.
Yeah, self-defeating cycle. Oh my gosh, twins, man, you stole it right out of my mind.
Well, I mean, I saw you doing the thing.
Well, the cycle, yeah, that definitely helped. But the key is recognizing, regardless of what's happening, and you can communicate depending on your relational equity with someone. Like you and I'm able to kind of speak on your life because we have enough equity for you to
Right.
for me to say something there. With a stranger, I can't just be like, hey, you need to live your life better. And I think that's where a lot of times we found a disconnect because people were just telling people they need to be better, but not doing anything with themselves to be better, right?
Yeah.
So if I don't take the ownership of myself, I'm only going to get bogged down in all the fake and the frustrations of the outside. Like the hypocrisy of the outside I don't want to say will continue to be there, because I believe in a good and like a battle versus good and evil, and that the good will win. I believe that everybody's got good inside of them, and that they have been given things that can impact the place that they're in currently and even beyond. Right? I believe people have been given gifts and everything like that. But ultimately, if I'm not doing what I need to do, I'm not going to change any of this. Like you said, that overall.
Yeah. I've got to contribute
right.
my change, my life's change, operating differently in this life in whatever capacity I've determined for myself that I want to live.
Sure.
Because ultimately I'm the only person that can live my life. I'm the only person that can say, I want to put in the work to achieve what I want to achieve, whatever that is that I want to achieve. And what I've learned about my life and what I'm trying to encourage myself as I keep going is that you are capable of change. I've been able to grow. It's been a 10-year process. We've been talking about ownership for almost the last decade of just trying, and it's been a slow cook. It's been a crawl. It's been trying to figure things out, and it's been failing, but it's been allowing ourselves the space to fail and to grow.
Well, it's scary too once you start realizing how bad, I don't want to say how bad of a person you are, but where the disconnect is in your life, where you start seeing where you've failed people, where you start seeing that you're fake. And the fronts that you put on, it can be a pretty tough process to go through and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I even got to this point.
Yeah. But it's a slow fade with stuff. We make a compromise here, a compromise there, and we just keep inching. Next thing you know, we're a mile.
Well,
but it's the same type of thing with growth, right? You just keep moving forward. You keep putting in the work. You keep doing the things. That's how you combat your hypocrisy. That's how it's an everyday to the end of your life type thing for me, that I've got to address my biases day in and day out. I've got to address my hypocrisies and what I'm not doing so that I can operate how I want to operate. Because when I operate in an authentic fashion, my soul finds fulfillment. Well, that's all I want out of life.
Right.
I want a meaningful, fulfilled life. So if I know what I can do to achieve that, to fill my cup, to do things to help me get better, I've got to do those. I'm the only person that can change my hypocrisy.
That's right. I mean, I kind of see it as like a hypocrisy muscle. Like we've been conditioned and working on that so much that it's a gut reaction now. Like, hey, something happens. It's like, like
I said, it's my default.
I'm immediately going to lie. Or
right.
Flex that hypocrisy muscle. And so we've got to start really working out the other muscles around
Rewire your brain to live different.
Rewire.
That's a hard word to say. I'm glad I said it slow.
You did. I'm proud of you.
But that's ultimately where we're at. And I feel like I've said the word ultimately a lot. But that's where we're at.
That's where we find ourselves.
That's where we find ourselves in our life, that we haven't been what we want to be in this life. We've done incredible things, and we're grateful for those incredible things because it was a product.
We've been able to be
a
part of incredible opportunities.
That's a way better way to say it.
Yeah,
is that we've been something way bigger than us. We've been able to create, connections with and be a part of, and yet ultimately, like when we would get home and realize that, man, I can't keep up with this front. I'm trying to make everybody else like me. I'm trying to get my value from everybody else.
But didn't spend the time to find out what it was.
I don't even know who I am.
Right.
I don't even know if I'm doing what I want to do. Right. And that's where it's tough conversations. You've said it before. It's tough conversations with yourself. It's identifying the things that you know you want. And then it's putting in the time and the energy to do that.
Right.
You can't just, I want to do this, and then all of a sudden wake up and be there.
Right.
You have to continually put in the work and the effort to get there.
I mean, it's even okay, so I just confronted some ugly with how I was treating somebody, right? And in my conversations with that person, I told them, I'm hopeful that I will treat other people in the future better because of my experience with this. Ooh. And I was like, but please forgive me for allowing you to be caught in that wake and making me learn that lesson the hard way. And by 30, I should know this lesson.
Yeah.
And yet here you are. Yeah. Exactly. So that's where it comes with the forgiveness for yourself. You know you can be better. Hold that higher standard for yourself so that, say you are out there doing your thing and you're being consistent and you're encouraging people and encouraging yourself, man, somebody along the way that's going to inspire somebody, and you have no idea what their capacity to inspire people is. Don't sit there and worry about this, impacting many people. Impact yourself, and you'll be surprised at how impactful you are for other people.
Ooh, I like that.
I mean,
In
it's
fact, but be your biggest advocate. Create the space for yourself that you want others to give for you, but you have to give yourself that space first. You have to give yourself that encouragement. You have to put that work in for yourself. Like if you're gonna go work a job and do all these things and just go through the motions, take the time to do the things for yourself that you want to do.
Right.
That's what I'm realizing I want out of my day. Well, I need to do certain things day in and day out that I know I want.
So everybody's going to be at a different point when they start the process of taking ownership and everything like that. Say you're 30, say you're 40, you have more obligations. You might be married, you might have some kids. So the time that you're having to spend to figure out for yourself, you're going to have to be pretty strategic with how you fit that around what you have to get done in your day.
Right.
But like, hey, man, the younger you are, the more like time you have access to, man, you have the ability to jump levels. And like, that's the whole point is like any kind of change we want to see in the world, right, is going to come from the younger generation. The only way the younger generation is going to be better is if they see people older than them being better.
Yeah.
All
talking.
No,
not just
all we see are talking heads. All we see,
and
exactly. We have to see people authentic. And where does that come? That comes down to communities. That comes down to people investing in the places where they're choosing to live their lives. Now, if you want to go somewhere else, the world is incredible. Go see these amazing places. And if you want to stay and live somewhere, go. The world is, oh my gosh, I just got chills thinking about how incredible the world is in like different areas and stuff. But where you find yourself, impact. We're in jobs right now that we don't necessarily want to be in for extremely long amounts of time, but that doesn't mean this is idle time.
Right.
That doesn't mean we sit around and we don't get better at what we're trying to do overall. Focus on getting better.
Every day.
Opportunities will continue to come, and if you're present, you'll recognize the opportunities, and if you've been putting in the work, there's that crossroads. There's that crossroads between the work and the blessings. I promise. I fully believe in that.
Absolutely. I've seen it in my life.
So ultimately, spending time with yourself to be like, hey, I'm taking ownership. Okay, committing. I'm taking ownership. And now you start to define it. You go into like what lenses you're looking through. You go into like what's in your control and what's out, like things around you, what you want out of this life. And then you go from there, spending the time. And that's such a process. We're continually doing this.
Right.
But still, yet we have more, I want to say foundational pillars. At least the rebar is set. You know what I mean? At least
we're getting there. The foundation's coming along.
Right. And so now when your foundation is within yourself, you're finding the value in yourself. Now, next time those storms come, you're not going to have to completely rebuild because your house got relocated because it went with what, that relationship or wherever you were finding your value, it stayed here.
Right.
Because what we do know in life is inevitable is change.
Right.
And there's going to be negative aspects to that change. No one likes change. Change is uncomfortable.
But that change shouldn't change your value.
Exactly.
Your value should not be dictated by the external. And that's one of the biggest realizations of my life. And one of the biggest takeaways I have in anything that you're pursuing or wanting to do, check your motives. Because for me, where my motives were so that other people would notice or give me credit or something like that so I could have my value. When things got derailed, because like you said, life changes, I would spin. Mm-hmm. So when I was a sophomore in high school, or going into my sophomore year, I wanted to be the starting quarterback. I was putting in the work. I was going to practice. I was doing the things I needed to do. When I didn't get the starting job, I quit football. And right there, in quitting football shows you what my motives were. My motive was not to be a part of the team. My motive was not to do what I can to play my role and be prepared for my team. My motive was, hey, I want this starting quarterback role so that I can get all these girls. I can be the popular dude on campus. It was all for the wrong reasons. It was for other people to give me value, not for, hey, this is something that you can strive for to earn and work hard towards or whatever. And my actions at what happened when the storm came, when I didn't get the job.
It hit the fan and you bounced.
And I bounced. Mm-hmm. I quit because my motives weren't in the right place. Mm-hmm. Because my value was so hingent on other things. If I would have, that doesn't mean that if I got the job, the starting job, that I would have stayed the course. Like something else would have happened in that season and wrong motive would have come.
The foundation still was not, it was on sinking sand.
It was on sinking sand. And so I have to check my motives because I'm consistently having to rewire myself to have intrinsic value.
It's the whole idea, okay, it's like everybody nowadays wants to be a freaking influencer. Everybody wants to have people that look to them do whatever. Are you doing this work what you're doing to facilitate growth or to become famous. I mean, that's the beginning of one of J. Cole's songs. It's an amazing quote. I can't remember who said it. I feel like it's like a Dale Carnegie type of, that's where I picked it up. But either way, the whole idea is like, check your motives. What are you doing this for? Because if you're doing this for something outside of yourself, it's going to ultimately fail you. You're going to find that disconnect because you're going to get there and like ultimately you're going to have to, at the end of the day, laying your head on that pillow, looking yourself in that mirror,
deal with that.
You got to deal with what you've done.
And ultimately, in my pursuit of combating hypocrisy day in and day out, I'm still having to check my motives.
Yes, sir.
Because if I'm trying to be authentic so that other people give me credit, that's wrong.
Yeah, that's not even authenticity.
That's not authenticity. In fact, that's still deriving my value externally. So I am now come to a point where I know that my value comes internally because I believe that everybody has value. And so if my value comes internally, everybody's value should come from internal. I don't have to rely on external forces to have value, to find happiness, choose joy, to operate the way I want to be in this life. So but because I'm still discovering that and still learning what that looks like in my life, these default hypocritical pathways of external values are still there. I still have to check my motives at the door.
Old habits die hard.
They do. And I have to continually combat those pathways because my motive has to be so that I'm getting better, so that I'm living in an authentic fashion, so that I'm finding fulfillment in my soul, which is ultimately what I want.
Because if you take ownership of your life and you start to really try to facilitate some amazing growth within yourself, you'll be amazed at what it'll do to not only the people around you, the people closest to you in your circle, but just to your community at large, and then how you see the problems that we're facing today. They won't seem as insurmountable when you've shown yourself you can change. Then people can believe, hey, change is possible. Because then there's no way you can believe something will ever change in this world if you don't believe that you yourself can change.
That's good.
And so by taking ownership, by confronting our hypocrisy, it begins the start. And this is such a fun conversation. Like this is the crux of society, though. This is what we have to do. I believe this is foundational. If everybody takes ownership of their life, we're able to move forward. In my opinion, I believe better things will come because I believe people will be better. And there's going to be plans. Life's going to happen. You think you're so close to the finish line, and then you'll realize, man, I'm still, 100 yards away. But ultimately, that's life.
Yeah, but you get there a yard at a time.
A yard at a time. Yep.
And I think that's the biggest key, is that we're discovering that it's a day in, day out thing, that you have to work hard at what you're trying to do, that you have to use gratitude. You have to, like all these things that we're going to talk about. You have to use the tools at your disposal to be the most authentic person you can be. And for me, and I think that for you as well, when we live authentically, we find fulfillment. And ultimately, that's where we want to be in our lives.
That's right.
We want to have the right motives. We want to be authentic people. We want to combat our hypocrisy. We want to take ownership of where we're at in our life. And we know that it happens one day at a time, one step at a time, and it's never going to be a straight line.
It's always crooked.
It's always crooked.